know, but
We actually in our band we have nicknames for ourselves as well, and I actually can't say. I don't know why I brought this up because some of them are pretty dirty, and I don't think I can say it on air. Never mind. They're not.
Well,
they're
that's
not
kind
all
of a
dirty.
band thing too. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when I joined the metal band way back, it was a similar kind of situation. It was all the names were kind of below the belt, but
Sure,
that's just how it is. It's humorous stuff. They
But
all
it's
had
out of
stories behind
love.
them.
It's out of love.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, like one of the running jokes in our band is that, again, going back to how I said, Alan is the guy in the band who is very much sort of the logical type who I could connect with on that kind of level. Not to say that, again, JD isn't logical when it comes to music, but Alan more so. We call Alan, because of his vast knowledge on all things music, we call him the professor, and that's kind of been our running joke. So that's a PG one I could let you know.
Well, there's a lot to be said too about the benign dictatorship kind of way that bands can be run, and
Sure.
I've been in several bands, and I can see both aspects. Right now, of course, everything I do completely solo, so I'm kind of really used to that, and I like that. And every time I want to try to work with another band, it's always usually, I want to get into a band that does what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to it now.
Sure.
But it's not like I want to force them to do things exactly my way. It's that I have an idea of how the kind of music that I want to make.
Absolutely.
And the more people who kind of nudge things in different directions, the less it'll be music that I want to make. And it might still be good music. It might be great, but it's not what I intended, and I'm kind of set in the way that I do things at this point in life as far as art goes, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I mean, one of the coolest, I guess, writing agreements I've ever heard of a band having was with Queen, where I think that like Queen is one of the only, if not the, no, actually they're not the only. I think like Beatles and maybe the Rolling Stones or somebody. Queen has a record that they hold where every member of the band has a song that's been a number one hit, or not a number one hit, or like a top 10 or something like that. But all of them are songwriters, and the way that they handled the songwriting control was if you wrote the song, everybody could contribute, but at the end of the day, you're the guy who brought the idea forth, so you decide where it goes and what direction it goes. If it goes too left or too right, you could be the guy say, no, let's keep it a little bit here to the center. And that's kind of, I do like to incorporate elements of that into how the band is run, not only in the songwriting, because I mean, again, when it comes to like the live aspect of what we do live, it's you can't take, obviously you can't control how people perform, so that's something that you have to sort of be very very do evenly three ways, because everybody's showing up and doing just as much as work as you are. But when it comes to like the songwriting and all that stuff, I found it best, and I found it best in terms of the progression of the band and just how quickly we get things done. Where it does seem to me, where it does seem to be the fact. It does seem to. I'm getting tongue tied here. It does seem to be the case to me that having quote unquote one chief does get things to happen faster.
When I was again drawing from some experience with this metal band. Of course, we were all equal membership. It was one of those, the full democracy kind of thing.
Sure.
We voted on stuff. And there were some things where I would just... it was kind of against the way that the band was done, but I would just overrule certain things anyway because, I just don't do certain things.
Right.
And it wasn't anything like really like terrible, like they were asking me to do things that were really like, oh, this is a big terrible thing. Like they didn't want me to be like black metal and be sacrificing animals on stage or anything.
Oh, but why not?
But there was one notable example was when we did death metal, and the band had started out as a Slayer cover band before I joined.
That's awesome.
And since I played keys, it kind of changed the dynamic a little bit.
That's brilliant.
So with their originals, it made things a little bit more orchestral and more, symphonic, and which is good. It kind of gave the band a more signature sound that it hadn't had before.
New dimension.
And one of the things that they wanted to do, we were real big into certain theatrics. We'd come out like dripping in fake blood and all this other good stuff, you know, really get into it. And so they wanted to do this thing where they all wore, or everybody in the band wore, white button-down shirts that had been soaked in the fake blood and everything. And while it's an interesting idea, I don't like anything resembling a uniform. I can't stand it. It's just an integral part of who I am. I don't like looking like anyone else in any capacity. I'm just a really individual kind of guy. So I was just like, no, I'm not doing that. I'll do the blood. That's cool because, you know, I can have my own pattern and whatnot. But I'm not going to go out and buy a white shirt and match. I can't.
Right.
I just can't do it.
In these situations, and I'm curious because I mean I've been in situations like this, and I'm curious to see what it would, or hear rather, what it was like for somebody else. Like in these situations where it's supposed to be a democratic kind of band thing, and you kind of veto it. I imagine that would cause tension. No.
Kind of. At first, they were like, well, you know, this is kind of what we're going to do. And I'm like, yeah, I understand. And I'm not going to tell you guys not to do it. If I would do something that complements what you're doing, how would that work out? And we eventually agreed on something like that. And so
So you meet him halfway.
Yeah, my look was, I still did the whole blood thing, like I said, which was fun. And
sure, it sounds great.
It was fun.
And we went with all that, and never once, I think, did I ever wear anything that matched exactly what anybody else did, and it was fine because my contributions to the band really kind of outweighed my minor bit of insubordination, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. If you're in a group activity like that, you kind of have to tread that line where if everybody in the band says, "Oh yeah, we think that this should happen," and you really strongly disagree, but it's such a good band and you're good friends with everybody that you don't want to risk the band itself for it, you have to kind of make certain personal compromises while also not compromising your own artistic way of doing things.
I hear you. Yeah, that definitely sounds like you said. I mean, it's a tough line to navigate. Fortunately, I think I could say speak for all the guys in the band, where I could say like I don't think anybody's morals or artistic integrities have been compromised in any way. I mean, if we've had to compromise anything, it's usually like compromising, you know, time stuff, like stuff related to time, like scheduling, like meeting up for practice on a day when we said we'd probably hang out with a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, going out or canceling, you know, a family get together, or just, you know, stuff where you know, I guess I don't want to say we take for granted as when we were, you know, there's things that you have to sacrifice when you're doing music.
Priorities,
and,
you have to reprioritize, kind of.
Yeah, but it's never easy though. So I mean, that's kind of the hardest part, where it's tough on not just the guys, but you know, any band, I imagine.
That's kind of the difference between just a casual, hey, we get together, we jam, and sometimes we play a show,
right? Yeah.
And like a real serious, like, hey, we're trying to make it someplace, or we're trying to really craft something here.
Sure.
And the dedication level is like totally different. I mean, you can be really excellent bunch of musicians in a band that does like all pop covers, and that's great. You know, I'm not going to knock that. And you're doing something that you enjoy doing, and you're making money at it, probably. But you know, it's a little less stressful art-wise and a little less personal involvement that you really need to make when you're doing something like that, because you can go, oh, well, you know, I know this song like the back of my hand. I listen to it on the radio every day. It's cool. I don't need to go to practice today. Yeah. And the temptation is almost to be like, not really lazy with it, but just, you know, definitely more laid back and less urgency, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah, I completely agree with that.
And it's one of those things where, like, you and I can kind of understand the concept here, and trying to explain it to somebody who's not a musician isn't impossible, but it's not easy either, because you have to kind of be involved in the process.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you could explain it, and they can get some idea of it, but you won't really understand until you know, not go to your niece's birthday party because you have a show coming up tomorrow and you have to practice because it's a big show, etc. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely hear what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it makes things even, especially now that I have my little girl, things are
Yeah,
trying
that's
to
a
just
whole
find time to get
new
like,
dimension.
studio time and
Yeah.
get just a few minutes away to work on something on my own, because you don't want to be neglectful, but you're still, you can't be 24/7 hands on all the time because they have to be independent too. So it's such a it's a weird balance you have to strike. There was,
And I'm curious because, like, now that you have a kid, I mean, like, how have you found that? How has that affected your output or the amount of time you put into your art?
well, it's come across different ways. Like before, I could just kind of pop up into my attic studio anytime I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I wasn't working and everything, I could take any other time during the day, go up there and jam out for a while, record some stuff, play around with ideas and whatnot, and then I can come back down and hang out with my partner, and we can watch a movie, whatever. And she's cool with all that. Now we've got the baby, and it's definitely a two-person job. It's not something that you can just leave to somebody and be like, okay, I'm going to go do this for a while.
Yeah.
And she works during the day, and right now I'm a stay-at-home parent because her job was much better than mine at the time, and we didn't make enough for daycare, and it just made sense, for one of us to raise the baby until she was old enough to go to school, and we can go back to work. But till then, even though I'm home pretty much day in, day out, I've got house stuff to do, I've got the baby to take care of, and so the only days that I get to do my sort of artistic pursuits is on days where mom has the day off. And she gets 2 days off a week, so I have 2 days each week pretty much at most.
Wow.
Barring any sort of disasters or something else that we have scheduled where we're all going to do something as a family, where I can go and record something or work on something in the studio, and it's it makes things very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, I was more or less expecting, because what I've understood from most people is that is usually the case. Like, I have a friend of mine who's he's dabbled in a few things in the realm of music, but one of the things he's sort of getting back into is jazz saxophone, and he's really good at playing saxophone. What up, Ego Hard? Quick shout out to him. But one of the things he told me was that now that he has kids, and I asked him, like, how do you balance that? Where what's the secret? He goes, there is no secret. You just kind of have to sort of decide that when you find out that in your day you have that 30-minute pocket of time where it's no kids or no responsibilities, no laundry or anything like that. In that 30-minute pocket, what I get to do, that's when I know I just grab my sax. And that's when I could run through my skills, keep my chops up, and then hope for another period of time where I could maybe record something or just continue my work. But it's just these little pockets of time throughout the day, or maybe even throughout the week, that last minutes that you kind of incrementally kind of have to first summon up the willpower to work and then work. So I mean, it's definitely a new challenge that I think that parents who are or new parents have to sort of work at if they're doing something artistically. It just seems like a lot of work, though.
Oh yeah, it's like I said, it's definitely not easy. I kind of live for those days when Mama says, "Hey, we're going to go out of town and visit family. Do you want to come?"
No, thanks.
Go ahead. You have fun. I'll stay home, and I get a little housework done, and then I sit down and I can record for like 4 or 5 hours at a time. It's just like, finally.
Man, wow, yeah.
And just hope you don't get writer's block.
Sure.
Right.
Wow, yeah. Sitting on the couch watching Purple Rain with popcorn.
Crying my eyes out with a tissue.
Yeah.
All right. We have one last song with Spells and Curses, and this is your cover song from Adele.
Yeah.
Hometown Glory.
Big Adele fans.
So here you guys go. His take on Adele, Hometown Glory.